Hi everyone, welcome back to our ongoing series on how to build a life operating system in Notion. Today we're going to look at a very important part of the whole system, projects, and specifically the projects database. Now, we did a previous video on the tasks database, and task and project databases are very closely intertwined. You'll see a lot of videos on how to build early stages of very rudimentary project and task databases. They interlink. It shows the power of the Notion relationships between databases. It's sort of the classic use case, but today we're going to show you an advanced case of how to take a projects database to full potential and have a much more sophisticated, high-level implementation to enhance performance, to enhance project management, and to enhance the capabilities of either you or you and a team of people to implement and deliver on these projects. This is all part of the alignment zone dashboard, which I did a video on very recently. So if you haven't seen that, that might be a good place to start. It gives an overview of how the projects database fits into a hierarchy of task database, project database, goal databases, and pillar databases, all of which come underneath the guiding principles of this alignment zone pillar to pipeline pyramid. And it's this level of integration that you just can't get anywhere outside of Notion. Notion has changed the game in terms of alignment between the high level visionary aspirational goals and your low level day-to-day, hour-to-hour execution of individual work items, and to have all of it connected and linked up this chain so that you know you're working on the right things. And now moving up the chain from the tasks that we've looked at quite a bit in past videos to the projects, this will be exciting because looking around on the internet, I actually didn't see any videos, and I was searching for it, on project management databases in Notion. There's a lot of how to do the initial setup of linking a task in a project database, but an actual fully built, fully functional, high-level project database, I don't think there's a video out there at this point. So I thought this would be a particularly important one to go into in some detail. So here it is. Okay, again, starting in the command center where we started at the very beginning of this series. Again, the two most important dashboards in my whole system here are the action zone, where I look at day-to-day, hour-to-hour execution items, specific tasks that I'm acting on. And of course, we've got a lot of views of that. Then at the bottom, we have our active projects and our active goal outcomes. So active projects is where we're going to go today, but this is typically how I view it when I'm just glancing or need a quick access to a specific project when I'm in the daily action zone working on specific tasks. If I'm going to actually manage the project, I'm going to go into the alignment zone, which is where I interact with everything above the task level, projects through pillars and guiding principles. So diving into the projects, this is where I interface with the projects database. This is my primary view that I look at projects. So looking at the filter, first of all, I'm filtering this view, all projects that are not completed. Completed is the only thing I'm weeding out of this because there's no point in looking at completed projects. So in this view, we are sorting first by status. We want to see the in progress ones on top, then the next up. So here's the status designations. In progress, on hold. On hold means that we started it and then put it on hold. If it has never started, then it's not on hold. It has to have started and then be put on hold to have that designation. If it has never started, it's either next up, future, or someday maybe. Next up is just as it sounds, the ones that are closest to being activated. Future is a little bit further down the line. Someday maybe is I'm not sure if I'm ever going to activate it, but I want to have it in here so I consider it. So during my quarterly reviews, I'll look at the someday maybes. I'll look at others during the monthly and weekly views. But I want to have them in here so I don't forget about them. So I make a deliberate consideration as to whether or not to bring it online or not. So we sort them by status, and it gives us a nice organization. Now that typically aligns with quarter. So they're also sorted by quarter, and that's over here. Quarter is a separate database, and the purpose of these fields as a database is so that I can do quarterly reviews inside them. So these quarterly designations are linked to the quarterly reviews. And the current quarter, just like the current week or current month, will have these two little arrows pointing in. So I can quickly, from a lineup, from a long list, spot the current quarter because I'm often grabbing that to tag a project or a goal outcome or something. I do the same thing with weeks, and I do the same thing with months. Double arrow designation means it's the current one of that time period. And then of the active ones, I will assign priority ratings. This doesn't mean a lot, but helps me sort them so the most important ones are at the top. So that'd be the third sorting criteria, and just helps organize it a little bit and helps me think and forces myself to really determine what the priority hierarchy is. Then I have a progress bar here for the active projects. Notice the things that are not in progress are not getting the same level of scrutiny and designation. There's no need. The ones that are in progress are the ones you're actively managing. And so they get a goal. Usually I'll assign the goal of 20, and then the completed part here is a subjective assessment of how far along I am in the project. And then this progress bar is a formula calculated based on the goal and the completed. Now, if there is a very quantifiable, measurable outcome, in this case, the project is to produce 15 episodes of my podcast. So there are 15 of them. I'm just going to count them off. I've done 4 of them. So 4 out of 15, that's 27%. If it's that clear cut, then I'll use that goal total number. But in most cases, it's hard to track, and the tasks that add up to the project are too varied. First of all, many will be popping up. You don't know at the outset how many tasks you're going to have, so you can't just use the tasks. And of course, not all tasks are equal, so there's a weighting issue. So to me, it's more accurate and faster to just make a subjective assessment when you're doing your weekly reviews, so you have at a glance a sense of what the progress is on each. And again, on the action zone dashboard, the bottom, that progress bar is also visible, and which both for goal outcomes, which we'll do in the next video, and active projects. So just at this glance, I can see how I'm doing in each of these. It's a subjective assessment, but that's really the best we can do given the variability of projects and the tasks that aggregate to complete a project. That's all you really need. It's just a ballpark assessment of how you're doing and where it's coming out. So back to the alignment zone, we're looking at projects, and this is the overall view that I look at. Okay, so moving down the columns here, you can see every project is assigned at least one, sometimes more than one, goal outcomes. And this is really important. This means that the projects are in service of one of the top level priority goal outcomes we have designated. Now, the next video is going to be on the outcomes database, so we'll get more into how that works. The recent alignment zone video gave you an overview of how it works, so if you haven't seen that, that'll explain how these fit together. But we'll get deeper into that in the next video. But the point is, projects all are serving specific goal outcomes. That is why we know that they're projects worth doing. Of course, they're also assigned specific pillars. Every project has to be in service of one of the pillars in our life. We're going to do a video on the pillars database after the goals databases. Then finally, we have the action items in service of these projects. Every project must have at least one action item, otherwise it's stuck. It's hit a dead end, it's orphaned. Projects need to move forward. That's the nature of projects. That's why they exist, is to move forward. Now, this one doesn't have one. This one down here doesn't have one because those are not in progress. Those are not active projects. All the active projects must have at least one, sometimes many action items, which is the task database. And these are all linked, so you can link straight through to those. Now, one important point is these projects are my internal projects. These are projects for my company or for my life, for my family. It could be anything within my world. But they're primarily business projects, but they're internal to my company and to my team. These are not client projects. All my client projects are in the client database. None of them are here. Now, the client database also feeds tasks to the task database. So the task database is shared across my personal projects and across my client database. But none of these are client projects. Since I do professional services for clients, I consider each client a project unto itself. And in the client database, each client entry is a workspace for that client. And then there are sub workspaces in that are shared and collaborated on with the client. But I just want to point out that these projects are all internal. I recommend doing it this way because it keeps it clean and it lets you keep this number of active projects more manageable than having this unruly list. Having the client projects and time designated for clients separate from your internal projects and time designated for your internal projects. Let's go into a couple of them, just show you how I work on a project inside the project workspace, because I think of each of these entries as the primary workspace for that project. So let's take a look. So I'm trying to find and hire a video editor. These are not just, live recordings, start and stop and post it. I'm cutting out all the pauses and false starts within the video, so you just get the clean, tight, concentrated information. Well, that takes a lot of time to edit, and I've been doing that all myself, but I'm not getting these videos out fast enough. Plus, I have some courses I'm designing. I need to produce course videos. So all of this means I can't spend half my day editing videos. It means I need a video editor. So I have this project of finding and hiring a video editor. So let's go through this whole project and you'll get a sense of how I work with a project. So again, status in progress, pick the status that's appropriate for the project, assign the quarter, assign the priority, assign a review date. You must always have a review date on any active projects. Doesn't mean it has to be done by then. I'm not a big fan of due dates unless there is a real consequence to not finishing on time. So the review date is important because when you do your weekly and monthly reviews, you will review the projects. This really is a marker onto whether you're making progress or not. You're expecting to have significant progress by that review date. And if you come to that review date and you don't have progress, that's a red flag. It also means if you come to the review on the projects and this is passed, it means you really need to assess what the next review date should be and how far down the road it should be. Because when you look at a date that's passed during your review, you give it more attention. It sort of says this one needs extra scrutiny because it's been past the time period where you said to yourself, you need to really consider next steps and progress on this one. So always give it a review date. Don't beat yourself up, but just keep an eye on it at the increments that you assign. Every time a task is created in your task database that's related to a project, you tag that project, meaning you create a relation to the project's database. And these are all the tasks that are entered that have assigned a relation to this particular project. We'll get into that more below, but that's important. The other way to create it is when you create these tasks from this view, it will automatically attach them as a relation to this database and this particular project in the database. Goal outcomes, you link it to goal outcomes just like we saw in the table. Same thing with pillars. So these are all the columns we saw on the outside, but when you're setting one up from scratch, you'll enter them in this sequence this way. It's easier. To create a new one, of course, you click on new here and it'll let you start filling out a new one. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Let's open this page up. When we get to the bottom, this is the template that I have created for all of my project workspaces, which is the bottom space, the page area of each project entry. So first and foremost, I have a question. Why this project? Why am I doing this? I force myself to write a short sentence or 2 or 3 on why I'm doing this. And it's right there front and center to always remind me of the reason why this project is being done. In this case, I'm doing this project to outsource to regain time for new initiatives. I need time to do new things that are important to me. And if I'm spending this much time on editing, I can't get to those new things. So I wrote it down. It's important to be really deliberate and intentional about what you do. Writing it down doesn't let you wiggle or evade the specifics. It makes you be very clear on why. So always write it down. It's in my template. I'll show you how the template works in a minute. I also have these 3 databases embedded. This is the pillars database in list view, filtered by the project that we're in. Remember, we are in the Find Hire video editor. So in the pillars filter, it's filtered by project, which is the database we're in. It contains this particular project. So it is just listing. This is listed up here too under pillars. But by listing it down here, this is where I'm working on it. I always want visibility on what pillars I'm serving and what goal outcomes I'm serving. And then I have a place for thoughts here. I can just sort of a scratch pad. But most importantly, I have the action items listed and also filtered by project. So they're filtered as not done. That's important. And then they're filtered by the project that we're in. So projects database, the one we're in, contains this particular project that we're looking in right now. So we get all the tasks that have been assigned to this project. It's the same as up here, but this is just a jumble of them with no sequencing and no data. Down here, we see them in order, sorted by status. So the active ones, then the next up, then the future. The active ones have due dates. They're in order. As I'm brainstorming what else I'll need to do for this project, I'll enter them here. So and here's where thoughts can be really interesting. So we have a couple more we want to add. Task A, task B, task C. We just added 3 more tasks. And sometimes it's easier in this bullet point list to just brainstorm and then you can resort them. It's easy to sort of sketch them out. And if you like those, you can grab them, you can drag them in here. It'll ask if you want to resort them because it's got a sorting, but you just say cancel on that and it'll add them in here as tasks. Then you can assign them status. You can, if they're active, you can assign them a due date and you can assign them a priority. You can open them up and they're full tasks. Just by dragging from these 3 scratch pad bullet points, they go into the database and you can fill them out. Now, I don't actually want those, so let's get rid of them. But just so you know, that's how this thoughts thing can be useful. You can bullet point out some possibilities, and when you organize and arrange them, you can drag them right into the table. So that's one project. Let's take a look at another project. I'm building a new website and rebranding my company. So I'm doing some new interesting things with the public-facing website. So again, we've got all this stuff at the top. We've got our progress. Let's open it up. We got the pillars that are relevant for that. We got the goal outcomes that are relevant for that. Why this project exists, to better represent the expanding product line and enhanced services. That's why I'm doing that. We've got all the action items that are queued up for this purpose. In this case, one of my team members has a task. So we list the owner here. This lets me see everybody who's working on any part of it. And this part that person's working on is designated in sequence here. That's paused. So you can see right now, everything's waiting right now because I need to hear back on these two things before I can progress. But as soon as I hear back, things will go into active mode and we'll move forward. But this glance lets me know everything that's happening in this project. And if I have new ideas and things that need to get done to implement this project, I add them here and they will automatically enter into the tasks database. They'll show up in my daily action zone dashboard in my today view. They're just going to roll right in as I get to them. And we'll be linked back to this project. So from any of those tasks, I can just click once and come back to this workspace. Now below here, I will often add notes if it's a shared workspace with other team members. If they're collecting information or doing research, they'll add the notes and the comments down here. This will be the full workspace for this project. Okay, going back to the alignment zone dashboard and looking at projects here, let's look at this demo project because this demo project will let us do a little bit more manipulation. So once again, we've got all the entries on top. Let's open the page. It's got these down here. Again, the action items are sorted in order. I've got why this project. I've got the pillars associated with this project, the goal outcomes associated. But let's delete all this. Let's say we just came to this new and there's nothing here. This is how you create the new project. You'll first go through each of these tags on the top and enter the database fields. That's pretty straightforward. Now we have a template created and I've titled it the new project template. That's not there until you create it. I'll show you in a minute how to create that. But all I have to do is click that and it enters everything, but it doesn't have them filtered yet. So it just dumps in these databases and the action items database and a spot for the why this project and my thoughts. So the first thing I do, and really the only thing I have to do to activate this setup for this project, is go to each of these three databases, click filter. It's already got the projects contains filter set up. I just have to click this and select the right one. And it's always the top one. So you click that and this is now displaying the pillar assigned to this project. Same thing with goal outcomes. We click filter, select a page. At the very top is demo project, which is the project we're in. And then finally we go to the action items. Notice this is already filtered in the template for not showing any done items and not showing any private items. That's just so I can do these public demonstrations without revealing all my tasks. And projects contain, it's left blank. You click it. The very top one is the project we're in. It filters by that project. And this is where we were when we first entered the page. So you can see exactly how I got there and how fast you can get there. That is how fast it takes to set up a new project. And then you just start entering tasks. If you enter them in this filtered view, since it's filtered for this project, you hit a new task, it automatically has this project entered. You don't have to assign this project because you're creating it from a filtered view for this project. Anytime you're creating a new project, it will automatically have all the assigned tags and qualities of the filtered view you're creating it from. So again, we have, the sorted by active first, then pause, then next up, then future. The active ones all have due dates, DO dates, the date we plan to do it. They have the active ones all have priorities, and you're good to go. If you want to add some, you add them here. If you want to rearrange what's active and what's not, you do it here. And if you want to go into one of the tasks, you just open it up. You've got that whole workspace inside of it. Down here is the shared workspace among the team, or if you're doing it by yourself, all your notes and thoughts. You can put additional tables in there. You can put additional anything you can do in Notion, you can create in this workspace down here. It's definitely the place to keep notes. If you're collecting information that's relevant for a specific task, you should do it in the task page. But you don't want to have to copy stuff from task to task. So a lot of times you'll have a research task, you'll collect all the information, but then the research that you collect in that task will then be used in other tasks later. Well, you don't want to compile that information in the task page. You want to compile it in the project page. So future tasks with that project will have all that information in a shared workspace, no matter how many tasks you check off as completed. So really utilize the workspace in the project database for each of the project pages as either yours or the team's collaborative, creative aggregation of thoughts and ideas on that project. And that's pretty much it. So one last thing, just to show you how to create those templates. A lot of you probably already know this, but all you got to do is go over here to the new button as if you were creating a new page. You can click the arrow underneath it. And another way to create a new project with that template is to select that template that's already created here. If you haven't created any, it'll just say empty page. It won't have any. But once you create one, it's right there. But if you want to create a new one, you just go to new template down here. If you want to edit one, you click the 3 dots next to it and choose edit. So you create a new template, you come in here, and anything you enter, you basically build out the page the way you want it. You put the databases in that you want, the filters you want to have by default, anything you want to be included by default for this particular template, you build it out here. At the top it says you're editing a template in projects. That means once you save this and title it demo template, once you are finished, it's here. Now, again, with a down arrow, I had the new project template, which is my primary one. The new one we just created is a demo template. If you want to edit it, you just hit edit. Boom, that easy. It's amazing. This is called the database template. If you want more information on that, just go to Notion's support wiki, which has great instructions on all their features. They have instructions on how to create a database template, which is different from a page template. So similar idea, but one's of course in a database and one's creating a page outside of a database. This is a database template. And with that, I have all my projects well managed, well aligned with goals, well aligned with all the tasks that will move that project forward. All the information and materials for executing on that project are in the page. All the designations on progress and priority are in the table. And it's that simple. So that's how you set up projects. It gives you an incredibly collaborative workspace. Everything you could do in Google Docs, plus Trello, plus so many different, plus Todoist, all with full group and team capability or just super powered solo individual capability. You can endlessly assign, sort, prioritize, change, collaborate, build, create. You could write the content within the workspace under each project. You could have that be an entire dashboard of pages and other databases. It could be as elaborate and sophisticated as the alignment zone dashboard or the command center dashboard or the daily action zone dashboard. You could take it that far if you had a project that big. You can do everything you need to do for that project that has digital assets, have them all aggregated and centralized and shareable across your team in that one workspace. And that workspace itself is the prioritization project that is being linked to the tasks and being linked to the goals and being sorted and organized within your tasks and project management system. There has never been a project management platform that can do this with this flexibility this easily. And I've worked with just about all of them. And I'm telling you, this is unprecedented. This is groundbreaking. And this is the power of Notion. So that's why I get so excited about this platform and have dedicated so many hours to building these videos and sharing these insights with people, helping companies build their internal systems using just this one platform, because it is a next generation platform that is just unlike anything we've seen before. The next video is going to be on the goals databases, how they align with other aspects of the pillar to pipeline pyramid, and how I work with those workspaces, because just like the projects have workspaces inside each project page, each goal outcome has a whole workspace for working on that goal outcome across many projects. And then finally, the extremely important cycle reviews, the weekly review, monthly review, and quarterly review. But I want to go through the task database, the project database, and the goals databases, and the pillars database, so that when we get to the cycle reviews, you have seen in detail how all of these workspaces and all of these levels of execution work together and work independently, because the reviews is all about aligning them and making sure every single one of them is on track. So some of the most important videos of the entire series are coming up in the next few videos. If this is of interest, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to get updates on future videos. Leave thoughts or questions below and hit like if you found this valuable. I also write a newsletter called Mind and Machine on increasing human capability. I give away several of my best Notion templates to anyone who subscribes to the newsletter. You can, of course, unsubscribe at any time, but I hope you'll give it a chance. I work super hard to pack it with a lot of valuable insight. The newsletter link is also below in the show notes. Thanks for watching. Lots more to come.